No one tells you how hard it is starting over at 40 plus. The feelings of loneliness, the feelings of fear, the feelings of where do I start? But I am here to tell you the truth about starting over at 40 plus. So I am here to tell you the truth. So welcome to my channel. Today we're really going to dive in. I'm going to get raw and share parts of my story if you haven't been here before. But really, if you are here, maybe you are going through a huge life change, a heartbreak, a loss, or a betrayal, and life really hasn't gone as you had planned or thought it would be, and or you're just sitting there thinking about your life and wondering, is this my life? Is this my life? And is there anything more to my life? And I just want to encourage you and say that yes, your powerful chapters are still ahead of you, because I've been there. I've been in really, really dark moments where I wondered what was the point and purpose of my life. What am I even here for? And I questioned what happened? Like, what happened to my life? And so I just want to share what no one told me about the dark moments. Okay, so here's the first truth. It can and probably will be feeling extreme loneliness. But I just want to encourage you here. I know so many people are afraid of being alone, and that can lead to not the greatest decisions. So I just want you in this moment to be encouraged in your loneliness. I know it sounds like sad to say out loud, but there is truly a power in being able to be alone. So if we could take this season of loneliness and use it as a point of growth, that's where our power is. But I will say that obviously looking back in that moment, there were not one moment, obviously, and I'm sure you can relate, many, many moments of feeling completely alone. And this is where I will encourage you to have your faith, to have the Lord, to seek the Lord. And I keep saying this every time. I'm like, I don't want to get all preachy about my faith or, shove it down anyone's throat, but I truly believe that. And I say this to my kids, because I have teen kids now. And of course, I think naturally when you are a teen, you start questioning faith in God. And anyways, that's a whole nother video. But what I will say is that what I say to my children is that there are points in our life that even if we have incredible, amazing friends, even if we have, siblings that we're really close to, or our parents or whatever, there are just times and moments in our life that there is no one that we can turn to except for God. And there's no one that we can talk to except for God. So if we don't have that faith, it is a struggle. It is very hard. And so I would just encourage you in this time where you feel like it's a season of isolation or loneliness and there's no one to turn to, know that you can speak to God and He hears you and He loves you. And so that's where I would just encourage you in those darkest moments, when I can now look back at those dark moments, He was there with me, and that's how I was able to get through it. And again, I will just go back to that point that I would just encourage you, don't be afraid of being alone. I think that is, I know we're built obviously to have, relationships and stuff. But again, going back to that point of there is truly a power in learning how to be alone, because I truly believe that when we learn to be alone, we also learn our own greatest weaknesses and strengths. And from that, when we learn our strengths, okay, we realize how strong we actually are. And sometimes, not sometimes, more often times than not, human beings, we are our own worst critics, right? And so we don't give ourselves enough credit for actually how strong we are. And so the way to flip it around and think about it is just say to yourself, if you are surviving this moment right now, this day, you got up another day, let's just say you're a mom. And I know in my darkest moments with my marriage, as an example, the betrayal that happened in my marriage, the fact that I got up another day to care for my children, to still, run my business, to service my clients, that is strength. The fact that we still get up and do what needs to get done. And so that's where we can give ourselves some credit and some power. So don't discredit how strong you actually already are for getting by moment to moment, day to day, okay? So I know there are seasons in my life where I will call it a season of purposeful isolation. And I know that's not a move for everybody. Like, for example, in my mid-20s, I moved away from my home city, left all my life, my friends, my family, and I moved out east. And I lived out there for a few years just to reset my life. And just a few years back, I did the same thing again after the failing of my marriage and trying to do what was right for my kids. That's a whole nother story. But anyways, I moved up north again, leaving behind the city that I'm from and all my friends and my mom. That was a really, really hard one. But my point in sharing that is, like, sometimes, and it doesn't have to be done in the way that I did it, that it has to be like a huge extreme move or anything, but sometimes we need seasons of isolation, if you will, because it's just like, think of like a caterpillar. The caterpillar is such a beautiful way of God's way of telling us that there are seasons in our life where we do need to go into isolation, just like the caterpillar, for a time, and use that time for growth and self-reflection and seeking Him and asking Him for direction and purpose in our lives. And then we come out to be this beautiful butterfly. So I would just encourage you on this, just finalizing this first point that I'm trying to make, is that don't be afraid or sad of this season of loneliness or isolation. And I would even encourage you, because I know women and men are guilty of like constantly like not being able to be alone, and then oftentimes that could mean you're jumping from relationship to relationship, and and oftentimes it could mean like jumping from toxic relationship to another toxic relationship, right? I know I've been there before, even prior to my marriage, and and I've been single now, honestly. It's been, oh gosh, like 5, 6, probably 7 years now. Just time flies. I've lost track. My daughter is I should go by my daughter's age. Okay, she's 7 years old. So 7 years. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but to a lot of people, it's hard to imagine. But truthfully, right now, I will just say that I'm so fulfilled with my life and myself that I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And I don't know what God has in store for me or whatever. But so, anyways, instead of rambling on, I will just leave it and say that there is a true power in learning how to be with yourself. And in that time, what I will just encourage you to do in that time of loneliness is pick up the Bible. I know it's hard to get into at first, but just keep trying. I promise you that the Lord speaks to you through his words. So that's number one. Read. There's so many honestly incredible books out there. I know it's like self-help, but the Bible's the number one self-help. Okay, so I'll start there. But so many great books, so many great podcasts out there that can, enrich your mindset, enrich your knowledge, enrich your wisdom, right? Because when we have wisdom, that is actually our power, because we renew our minds. And when we renew our minds, we renew our spirits. Okay, so I will just encourage you with that. Now we will wrap up with that's number one, loneliness. Okay, so the loneliness hits and you're learning to sit with yourself and your thoughts and your emotions. And this is where a lot of people, again, get scared because they're scared to be with their own thoughts. And then you're going out constantly trying to be busy with friends or another relationship or whatever. And then you find yourself back in the same old cycle and circle, right? This is about your evolution and about your growth. So you got to be willing to sit with the uncomfortableness is. It's not a word, I just made that up. But we have to be willing to sit with the uncomfortable feelings for us to evolve, okay? And it's going to be very normal to question everything, especially when we're 40 plus and we may feel like, because society makes us feel like, oh gosh, we're 40, life is over. Especially if we're coming out of a divorce, or if we've been betrayed in that divorce, like myself, like all of us get married. We don't think that, we get married to end up in divorce. And so I remember going through that, where I questioned, honestly, my self-worth. I questioned my self-worth because, like, was I not, a good enough wife? Was it, but then when I really worked through all of it, I knew on my part that I was a good, loyal, faithful wife, and that his actions had nothing to do with me. And so this is where I want to encourage women, or even men who have gone through infidelity, that it's hard not to question ourselves, especially when things have fallen apart in our life and it didn't go obviously how we envisioned it or how we planned. Very normal for you to question or even feel like, you're a failure, like you failed in life. You question your purpose, you question what's next, or what's your identity now that you're no longer, a wife or a husband. So that is very normal. Allow yourself to sit with those questions, and you can even have a moment of righteous anger and righteous rage. You can vent with the Lord. That's what God is great for. He is God, and he can take all your feelings of anger. So share it with him, write it out, because although we may think that years have been wasted because now our dream of what our life we thought, our life would be has fallen apart, just know that God never wastes our pain. And pain can always be used as great fuel to fuel the next beautiful chapters of our lives. And all we need to do is just reframe our mind. So instead of thinking, why me? Or thinking that you are lost now, or you don't have an identity or a purpose, that is not true. You have to think from a place of empowerment where you're thinking, this is my chance and my opportunity to rewrite my life how I truly want for the next half of my life. Because even though we may feel like we're over the hill or whatever feelings we may have, because we're in our 40s or late 40s, I'm mid 40s now, and it may feel like, oh, your life is over, but we still have so many beautiful decades ahead of us. And even with myself, with this diagnosis of blood cancer right now, I am just trying to do the most as I can in creating beautiful next chapters of what chapters I have left on this earth, because our time is truly limited and life is truly precious. And we cannot let heartbreaks and setbacks and whatever just destroy our hope for a beautiful future that can still be ahead of us. So that's truth number 2, that you will question everything, but stay with it, work through it, okay? Because this is your evolution, okay? That's why I called this channel Evolve with Sarah, because this is about you evolving along with me as well. Think of it as your evolution, okay? You are not lost. You're just being redefined, and you are evolving. You are going to be that caterpillar that is going to be the butterfly, okay? So stay encouraged. Now we'll go on to number 3. Financial fear. Trust me, I've been there where I was fearful. I questioned how would I make ends meet, how I would, pay bills, how would I have enough income. And although financial fears are very, very real and can feel even debilitating in the moment, what I will say is, I know it's easy for me to say it now that I've come out on the other side, but what I want you to focus on more is focus on how you are able to create an income. How can you increase your wisdom on financial knowledge? Because maybe you don't, and there's no shame in it, because we've never been taught it. Honestly, it's not taught in our education system for a reason, but that's a whole nother video that I can get into. But maybe this is a season and a time for you to increase your financial wisdom so that you can better your financial situation. And I've shared this on my Instagram, on my social media, and I am not ashamed to share it. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. I actually almost did a bankruptcy, but instead did a consumer proposal, which eliminated a lot of my debt. And there's a whole story how that happened. But basically, long story short, when I was in my marriage, we had a business together, and due to poor financial decisions, and that's just the truth of it. And my ex-husband had a lot of his own demons, and anytime I share my story about my marriage, I never want to just blame it on my ex-husband. because he's done a lot of growth and healing for himself as well too. But during our marriage, his demons, and that's what I will call them because that's what it is, his demons essentially destroyed our financial stability and security. And hence, in our divorce, I personally had to do a consumer proposal. And again, I don't want anybody feeling, and I went through those feelings, so I will share that. I went through feeling like such a failure, like how did I get here, because prior into getting into my marriage, I was debt free. I had, my investments, my savings, and how did I get here where I'm feeling like I'm on the verge of like declaring bankruptcy? And although I didn't declare a bankruptcy, I had those feelings of fear and uncertainty, and how are things going to play out? Like, now my credit is going to be affected, et cetera, et cetera. So all those feelings. So I share that because I want you to know that I've been there and I know how it feels, that feeling of fear and being scared of how things are going to progress forward. But I will say that there is no shame if you are really at your, I don't know what's wits ends, and you're really just feeling like there's no way you can get ahead, and you've been trying your best already to make all the payments and it just isn't getting you anywhere. There is no shame, honestly, in speaking to a trustee where they can really guide you and see if that's the right decision for you. And sometimes that is, so that you can start with a fresh slate all over again. And that's what worked for me. And I just became very, when I separated from my ex-husband, there was a time where there was extreme frugalness. I didn't eat out, I didn't take any vacations, I didn't do any of that. But anyways, I will do an entirely separate video for that when I talk about finances. But I just wanted to share that story because I want you to be encouraged that even though you may feel like, oh my gosh, I'm starting all over again, that there is still a path and a way for you to start again and build your own financial stability and your own financial security. And again, it goes back to getting that wisdom. It's all about that wisdom and that knowledge, how you were able to rebuild your financial stability once more. So I will leave that at that. I know it's, again, easy to say because I'm out of that, but I want you to know that I know and I feel and I exactly how you feel. I don't want you to feel fearful, but just to instead be encouraged that there is a way. Okay, there is a way. And once I learned how to take control of my finances, that's when things change. But that's going to be another video when I talk about finances. Okay, and going on now to truth number 4, healing takes time. Well, I know that's not obvious, right? But be gentle on ourselves. I know for myself, I have forgiven, my ex-husband, because I know he's had his own trauma, I'm sure, as, a child. I always say this is like, it's because people ask me like, how are you, so forgiving and don't have any sort of like animosity or hatred? I just don't, because I'm the type of person where I always try to put myself in other people's shoes or understand that, here, that's the quote that I want to say. It's hurt people that hurt people, right? And I truly believe that. Like, I don't think anyone is truly intentionally wants to hurt you, but they've had their own experience of trauma or whatever it is in their childhood, and as a result, they have their adult trauma and adult demons, and that plays out, in their life, right? And unfortunately, it hurts other people because, you're married to that person. But anyways, my point is that for me, like even healing right now, even though I've forgiven my ex-husband, there's sometimes when those memories or those thoughts come out, I'm human. Like I can still feel that trauma and that I'm still healing from it. So healing is going to take time, and sometimes it's something that we will work through, you know, all of our lives. And the fact is, some days you're going to feel powerful and super strong and you can do all the things. And especially if we're in this 40-ish like decade age range, we're also dealing with perimenopause, and that could be a challenge as well. And so I would just encourage you that when your energy and your power is feeling good, because we do have to go by our cycles. Okay, sorry men if you're watching this, but this is for my ladies. There are times in our cycle where we do have more energy and more power, and that's when I would just like dial in. So that's when you want to like just do all the things that you want to do and create, because that's your time of power. And then, but I truly believe that it's actually a gift that God has given us with this cycle, and we just need to learn how to listen to it. And when it's that time when our body just does not have the energy or the mindset, that is our time of rest, and allow our bodies to rest and heal. And maybe during that time, do things like the inner work and building our relationship with God, and get into a book or a podcast and grow our mind and our wisdom, right? So just go with our cycle. So anyways, rambling on a little bit like I tend to do a lot. Healing is a journey. We're gonna have good days and we're gonna have bad days, and that is okay. We are human beings, but just don't allow ourselves to stay in those lull days for too long. We have to have the mindset to pull ourselves out of it and get moving and get going. And so this is where I know it's cliche again, but encourage you, if you don't have some sort of workout routine. And I know I used to be a gym junkie, like at the gym like 6-7 days a week, but we're different as we get older. You don't have to go crazy at the gym, like even getting out for a walk with your dog, or doing some stretches for mobility. It doesn't have to be like crazy intense, just move our bodies and we will feel better. Okay, that can be part of our healing, is moving, praying, spending time in God's words God's words, and that is part of our healing process. And if we have the ability to do so, I know as moms, we can get consumed by taking care of everyone else, our kids, and fail to neglect ourselves. So do things for yourself. Like, I got my nails done. Just something nice for yourself so that you feel good for yourself. Like my kids, because I rarely ever wear makeup. Actually, today I put on some eyeliner because it's been a long time since I've been able to put eyeliner on, and I believe it's due to my blood cancer. But my kids are like, Mom, why do you have, why you got makeup on today? Like they think it's like maybe I'm going on a date, which no, like I said, I've been single for 7 years now, but it's for ourselves. It's for us to feel good. And sometimes as women, as girls, just putting on a little bit of makeup and, putting something on that's a little bit nicer than our, day-to-day lazy, drabby clothes or whatever it is, to make ourselves feel better. We can do that. Take a day where we go get a massage or, like a facial, like allow ourselves to do those things for ourselves, because yes, as moms, as wives or ex-wives, we give and we give and we give. And I know there were points in my marriage, honestly, I felt like I gave so much of myself that I didn't even know or who I was anymore. Like, who was I, you know? And so that's the beauty of this chapter of loneliness, is that we get to love on ourselves and take care of ourselves. And that is such a beautiful thing. And so, okay, just give yourself permission for time for healing. It doesn't need to be a rush process. And now I will go on to truth number 5. And this is my favorite part, which I've already reiterated a few times on the other points, that this truly, truly can be the next beautiful chapters of your life. Honestly, it truly can be, because this is like you're in create mode. Like, literally, this is your opportunity to create your ideal whole next half of your life that you have left. And there's a whole large half left. Okay, so this is your opportunity to create your life exactly how you want it to be. Well, maybe not exactly, because that's not how life works, right? We may plan. And this is where I encourage you, really honestly, to pray to the Lord and have a relationship with him, so that he can bring to light what your purpose is, all of us have been created to have a purpose, but we allow fear to hold us back. And so this is where you just be encouraged in this time to pursue the highest and best vision of who you see yourself as, and don't let fear hold you back. And that's why having God's word in your mind is so helpful, because it helps you overcome the lies of the enemy, the fear that the enemy likes to put in our heads that holds us back on God's dream and God's purpose for our lives. Too many of us play small because we worry about what others think about us, or how we're going to be judged, but I think that's also, I don't know if you're on the same page as me. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, or maybe you're working towards getting there, but I feel like there's such a beauty and being in your 40s and 40 plus, because you can probably relate, probably in your 20s, or early 20s, or your teens, or whatever. You care so much about what other people think about you, or you're always worried about what other people are going to think about you. But the beauty about being older, and I love it, is that you truly just don't care what people think about you, or you care less. I shouldn't say that you don't care at all, but you definitely care a heck of a lot less. And there is such a beauty in that. So if you are in a place where you don't care what people think about you, there is such a beauty in that, because you can just go out and do your thing, and I believe that when you are your true, authentic self, that's when you are living on purpose. That's when you are living in God's co-creation with you, if you will, when you are living your authentic, true self. And when you are your authentic, true self, that's when you can truly help others as well. So I will wrap it up by saying that this is truly the beginning of you becoming that butterfly. Take the season of being in a cocoon for a bit and pray and meditate and ask the Lord to show you your purpose and to direct your steps moving forward, because I promise you that when you sit with him long enough, that he will truly guide your steps and direct your way. And the change that happens in our life, like the quote goes, right? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Take the step, even if you feel scared, even if you feel fearful, and journal it every day. Like it, you can start with small wins, because it's the small wins that builds that big win. So every day you can, okay, you can put in your journal each area of your life that you want to focus on. Okay, so your spiritual life, your health and wellness life, your financial life, and write a goal like each day. Okay, like today I spent time, reading the Bible. Number one, win, check it off, right? Today I went for a walk. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, like I said, check, win. That's another W, right? And then financial, okay, maybe I can go to the library or purchase a book. A first place to start, you can start learning about investing. There's tons of amazing podcasts on YouTube on wealth and finances. Increase your financial knowledge to increase your financial security and stability. So now I will wrap up the video by just saying that your best incredible days can still be ahead of you, but it is up to you. It is up to you to create and take the actions and the steps, okay? But it starts here. It truly starts in the transforming of our minds. So just start there. And that's where I will say that I'm launching very soon, because I wish I had all of this all together with the steps in helping you reset your mind to evolve. And I will be sharing that shortly, but I've been working very hard on, because I truly believe that people just want to always jump into these quick fixes, right? Like, how do I get rich? How do I get skinny? Like, without starting here. And so that's why I wanted to start off with sharing the Evolve Reset, which is a 30-day reset for your mind, because we have to start there. If we don't get our minds right, we're just going to be running in circles. So, and this is your evolution. This is your evolution, and no more running in circles. This is your chance and your opportunity to create your next half of your life. Okay, so I will end this video. I know I rambled on a lot, but thanks for being here and thanks for watching if you made it to the end of this video. But I just want you to say that if you are in a season right now of heartbreak, of loss, even a diagnosis like me, I'm sitting, I lost my mom. This would actually shockingly be the second summer that she's now passed. She was my best friend, my other half. And it was a devastating loss. And, just to find out this year, just this past November, actually, it is now March, that I'm diagnosed with, this rare blood cancer. But I'm still doing all that I can to live my life with intention and with purpose, and to use my own heartbreak and loss and diagnosis to help others. So don't underestimate your own value and your worth and what you have to share with your story to help others. So with that, I will end this video and say thank you for being here. And if you got some value out of it, I hope you do like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. I always do this when I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm like, wait, I didn't tell you about my next video, so that hopefully you will come back and I'll watch my next video, because on the next video, I'm going to talk about the financial mistakes that a lot of us women make and how we can begin making better financial choices. Okay, so hopefully we'll see you in the next video.